Yeah.
There we go.
Boom. Hello. And welcome back. This is a special segment we're doing of Command Protocols. It's not a podcast episode, but today we're joined here by our friend Danny from War Masters. There we go, got it. At the team I'm in, that I still can't say the name of. And he went 6-1, was it?
Yeah.
Sheffield came third, I believe.
Fourth,
Was it
but the
fourth?
abscess. Yeah, the abscess
Uh,
third. But it was explained to me. I can't remember why, but it was fourth.
so third because we only go off apps.
But
So
we should have invited third. Why have we invited fourth?
because third doesn't play Necrons. Get out of here.
That's true.
So yeah, we're just gonna go through his games. He obviously had more success than
Than me.
Andy and I have had, basically, even though same bloody list. But it's well done anyway. But yeah, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, Danny?
Yeah. So, like you said, my name's Danny Evison. I play for War Masters. Sweaty meta chaser. Been enjoying playing Necrons for the last probably 18 months on and off as they've gone through different builds, different books. I like the variety they've got. I like the reliability of them. I do like armies that can bring stuff back. So I've been enjoying them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very, very fun. I mean, we have obviously spoken a little bit on the podcast about your double vault the week after we did ITT because we obviously love vaults here. We're all vault enjoyers. So now that everybody's going over to the Awakened Dynasty life, we're just good to see people actually performing with it. We were having trouble the last couple of weeks, and now this week we've shot like all the way to number 2, but number 1 was one guy who went 3-2 on for the what's it called, that one faction that everyone forgets.
Imperial Agents.
That's it, Imperial Agents. One person managed to cap it there. So yeah. So why did you take Awakened Dynasty over like Double Vault, which you have taken in the past? What drew you to
Well,
Awakened?
you are some of the reason because I've been borrowing your second vault, and I thought at some point I had to give you it back. So I only had one. I bought another one and built it, and I happened to be working away the week before, and I thought there is no way I'm going to paint an entire vault in a week while I'm working away. I just thought it's not going to happen. There's no point. So I had been interested, having played into Awakened a few times, in the way it can bring characters back, and it's kind of a bit more durable. And obviously, Illuminor Seras is the best in that detachment, and he's already very durable. So I thought, I'm going to give this thing a try. It's kind of a different play style to what I had. So with a sort of rough schedule of a list, which you helped me to then shape, I thought, let's give it a go. Let's go on an adventure, see where we get.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's we were looking at some lists on the podcast just last week with Awakened. They were nearly all Awakened, I think, and some of them didn't have Zeras in, and that is the main pivot point for why we want to take that detachment. It's not really the warriors; it's the durable characters. So
so good.
yeah, it's really, really good. So what did you play into? What were like your step by step games? What was your first round?
So round one, I had a guy called Luca, a little new to the tournament scene. He was playing Black Templars, and this was an interesting maths lesson for me because I've not played Black Templars much, and when I look at them, I never know what they are because the normal units are called different things to all the other Space Marines. So it took me ages to figure out what they even did, how big the unit sizes were. And I just asked some people about the maths. I was like, does this unit kill 20 warriors? Surely it doesn't, right? And then they were like, yeah, this kills it, that kills it, this kills it. So it was actually potentially quite a dangerous matchup. It was on sweeping engagement, obviously. What's the mission one?
Terraform. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically, with the list, I'm looking at what the loss conditions. So, can something solo the warriors? If they can kill them in one go with one unit with one activation, that's game losingly bad. So, in that list, he had Helbrecht, Castellan with the 5 Sword Brethren, which I'm reliably informed one shots the unit. He had 10 JPIs with a captain that gives him +1 strength. That potentially, if he rolls well and I roll badly, could one shot the unit.
Yep.
He had 10 Crusaders, which potentially, I'm told, could one shot the unit. And he also had the Empress Champion with some Assault Intercessors, which definitely don't one shot the unit, but if they get into it with something else, they could. So
Mm.
I had to play that game kind of carefully and make sure that he had exposed those assets to other things I could either kill or tie up, um, before I could then start pushing the warriors out. So it was kind of a careful game. He did give me one or two opportunities to get at things, so I did. It ended up being close because he actually clocked out in round three. I said, "Look, I had about 25 minutes on my clock." I said, "I'll give you 10." And then, unfortunately, we ended up running out of time, so we didn't get right to the end of the game. So we had to quickly top it out. So it was, I think, a 4 point win in the end. But it was a careful match. It was a dangerous matchup potentially.
That's the
Yeah,
problem with armies, that you're fighting and shooting every turn right from the get go. They just tend to be a little bit slower, don't they?
yeah, and being in such close quarters as we were talking about Andy's first round, which was World Eaters, it's so difficult to try and avoid that unit because you can't just put your warriors on the opposite side of the board in most cases, especially when they've got like multiple units that smash face.
Or use your
Uh,
range advantage as well.
yeah, it's a really, really tough board, especially for round one as well. It can be so volatile.
Mm.
Yeah,
Um,
it can. I was getting ready to put out three terraforms if I went first, and then he went first and put out one in the middle. And the way he did it from where I was positioned, I couldn't really get to it and stop it turn one. So he did get that terraform, and I thought, actually, if he does get this one, then he stops my terraform. He's actually in a winning position already, so I have to sort of then contend with the combat units he's got. So it was quite a slow moving game for me because I had to respect certain things, which limited how quickly I could kind of get the game going. So it was
yeah,
sort of turn three-ish before I was really shoving everything in his face.
that's what I try and tell people that you can't just shove the Warriors out and every single game and expect them to just tank everything. It's they really in different games like that. They definitely need to be used in a different way. Um,
Yeah.
but a lot
The,
sometimes
te-
it's later game.
the tempo is really important because, like you say, it's obvious to just kind of unga bunga and throw it out and be like, you can't kill this. And sometimes things might not, but they might tag it up or they might move, they might restrict you in other ways. And there's the right time where you have to go for it. And there's times where if you're not quite sure, you should just maybe give it a turn. Because what I did find playing this list over the 7 rounds was there are a lot of games where I'd be 20, 30 points behind by turn three. And then by turn five, I'd be 20, 30 points ahead
Mm.
because it does tend to just sort of overwhelm in the late game where they've got less assets, you've got those random characters running around, and then you can just disrespect the shit out of them and run right at them and charge everything.
Yeah,
I
and
really like it. Oh, go on, Andy.
the less they have, the harder it is to interact with the Warriors as well, and then they just take over the game. So that's,
Yeah.
for me, that's the key, is to whittle down, is to initiate the trades early, so that
Yeah.
by mid game, the Warriors just dominate, and then the characters can run around and do what they want, and
Yeah.
they can't really do anything because they just don't have the output.
That's what I
That's where that's where
That's-
the units like Ceres are really good because you can use him early to say, go turn one, I've got Aerodinal and Cleanse, I'll run him out right into the middle or I'll start Terraform. And now you have to send a real thing to deal with him. And the amount it takes to kill him, even the first time, means that they've put real assets in front of you. And then you can go, cool, Scorpex,
Yeah.
DDAs. And then you can start taking real assets off them. And they don't necessarily even get to remove your asset because if they do kill it, which they often don't,
it gets
just gets back up.
Yeah, but you were only playing one DDA, which I found interesting because I find that I like redundancy, and one DDA is just too inconsistent, whereas two tends to balance out a little bit. So
It definitely does, but the way I got there was I had two as well. Also, I've always run two, and I like two for the exact same reason because you'll guarantee with one when you need to kill a rhino, you will roll a one, you'll CP it into another one, and you'll do 4 damage, and it is very upsetting. But what I've actually got it for, not in this list, isn't to do the damage in and of itself; it's to threaten the damage because a good player that goes right. If I put this rhino here, you can see it, and you could kill it, and if you kill it, that's bad for me. I'm not going to take that risk. So it affects how people play and it keeps them honest. There are a lot of armies that could start on the line and just sort of disrespect you. And just that, it sort of slows their tempo down just enough that your slow starting tempo, it kind of balances it out. And then over the course of the game, you can get more aggressive. What I do find with it is when I was running Hypercrypt and I would have two in the Silent King and two Vaults or two Monoliths, probably turn two, latest turn three, I'm shoving all of it at an angle in your face, trying to kill as much as I can. The Doomsday Arcs in most of my games rarely left my deployment zone, and they often stayed on my home because all they did was threaten for a lot of the game, and then they would try and cut shallow angles to things I could see without being hit back by something that could kill me. And then last, turn 4, turn 5, maybe they're just running out in the middle and shooting stuff. And I found it played a slightly different role. It wasn't just straight damage; it was often the threat more than the reality of its damage that was what was useful.
Nice. Yeah, that's why I like the list because it can be aggressive early and threaten like I'm on all these objectives, or it can wait till late and then trade with the rest of its army, rest of the army. Then the warriors are a massive problem. So what happened in game 2 against Guard?
So
What was
game
that like?
2 was Guard. That was against David from Glasshammer.
Mhm.
That was Krieg. So 2 blocks of 20. Krieg. He had the 2 Lehman Russ. He had the Rogel Dawn, a couple of transports for Kaskin, some Scions, that kind of stuff. And I went first, and it was Purge, so I didn't feel particularly advantaged in that one. And it was just a case of running the warriors as aggressively into the middle as I could, because I know in that army it's a monophase army. So the strength I've got there is that the characters can be really aggressive, and I know he only has one phase to kill them. So I know they can then get back up and push into him. And again, I know he hasn't got anything that one shots the warriors.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a back and forth, but I managed to kind of bully his Krieg that were in the middle with the warriors and with Seras and with Scorpex until it whittled down. It did come quite close in the end, but I managed to get I got 3 Maws. I think they were mostly hold Maws. He got 1 or 2 Maws with the kill Maws. But in the end, I was able to just push him off the middle enough and then hold his scoring on the last turn so that I took, I think it was about a 12-point win on that one.
Yeah, that's also why I like the warriors into Guard because they are one phase and you can that's where the skill of being able to evaluate what your opponent's got that can actually kill these in one go or cripple them enough. And if they're not running the Scion, is it Scion brick, the one that drops
Yeah,
down?
Yeah.
If they're not running that, then they do really struggle, especially with the stealth and everything. Um,
yeah.
so
And the thing with
they're
them,
so good in Purge because they can do the hold more. They don't have to do the kill more bit. They can just
But
sit and do the hold more.
what Guard do have though is they can have lots of guns up front that you'll shoot. You'll do your animation. Eventually, you'll be like, okay, I don't want to take any more, so I'll just pull back behind the wall and hide. But then they have the indirect that can sometimes actually finish off the job,
Yeah,
which is a little bit scary.
they do.
they don't have how much
Unfortunately,
indirect do they have?
Well, my
he
Guard
didn't have.
opponent had a lot.
Oh yeah.
He had a lot.
See,
So yeah,
that's a different kettle of fish. Fortunately for me, he didn't have any. So I actually made a mistake because I assumed he would be going for the warriors with the Scions, and I left a space for him to drop neatly and hit my mythic destroyers, which he did
Oof.
and killed all of them. And I was like,
Yeah.
that was a thing he could
Yeah,
kill because
that's like
that's a
your
20
main ticket against the 20-man bricks, right?
Yeah, because I was saving it for later in the game. I was gonna on the
Mhm.
same turn. I'd been whittling down the main one in the middle. I was going to kill that one and then teleport behind the other one and then delete that and delete them both, so we could only bring one back and would have no presence the next turn. So when he did that, I was like, that's a bit of a mistake. But
Yeah.
it was. I've got to give you credit as well for the Royal Warden because initially I had the Overlord in the list because I thought, especially on things like Terraform where you can move 11 inches and still do actions, it makes them really strong, really useful, really mobile. You've got the free strat so you can heal for free. And you were like, none of that matters. Fall back, shoot, and charge. And I remember when you told me, I just thought, no, why do I care? They're rubbish. Their combat's garbage.
Yeah, and it
But
was
every
Andy that
single
told me. Andy was
yeah.
like,
So
Andy
Andy's
was
in
like,
front as well.
you should be running the Royal Warden. And I was like, I really do want to try it, but then I've got to like put this in. And I just was umming and ahhing for ages. I was like, no, and I was like, this fits neatly. It's really neat. And then the points got changed. And I was like, well, now my list just doesn't fit. So I just dropped to the Royal Warden. I was like, why the fuck have I not been doing this the whole time? I
it
didn't deserve to win a game.
makes them so much more mobile, and it gives you
Yeah.
so many more tricks where you can literally traverse the entire unit to the other side of the map.
You
almost.
trade one turn of auto advancing 6 for being able to
Yeah.
fall back and shoot and charge for the other 4 turns that they're
Yeah.
doing stuff.
And he's got a really good gun as well. So when that one turn comes along where you're just within 6, so you're just rerolling every hit, 4 attacks at 5/2/2 with Sarah's
Yeah.
is pretty strong. So
Yeah, really good.
So in that matchup, it was very useful because we were clashing in the middle, his brick with mine, but I could fall back and it meant I can fall back from things that are difficult. Other things can shoot them, then I can recharge to tie them up.
Yeah.
Or again, try and do splash damage where it comes in. But yeah, it was basically the ability of the Warriors to beat the Krieg and kind of dominate the middle that let me take it. It was 9 points, so relatively close.
Yeah, pretty
But
close game. But if we're going first on Purge, it is always like that. They can be super close, or they can be really, really far away.
yeah.
So yeah, you 2-0. Third game, got Chaos Demons. What was that against
So
exactly?
I played one game of Demons the week before, and it was into um, Be'lakor, Scarbrand, Guo with Endless Gift, Rotigus, and a Lord of Change. And I was like, this is just too much chunk, right?
Yeah.
Because my thing is trying to do it's not like the double vault Doomsday Atlas where it's just going to rinse stuff off the board in the turn easily. This list is like death for 1,000 cuts, so it's a little bit of Scorpex shooting, some Mimetic shooting, a DDA, some Impact Mortals, some Scorpex. It chips away at things to kill them. And what I found in that game was when you throw that much chunk at me, it's just too much, and I just can't kill it enough while you're everywhere. So I found the sweet spot is probably 4 max. Probably 4 is the borderline, but 3 or less Greater Demons is enough to handle. Because if it's something like this list was Be'lakor, Bloodthirster, and a Lord of Change. So Lord of Change is no real combat threat, and I don't care about his shooting. Be'lakor is all right shooting, all right combat. Bloodthirster was okay combat into the Warriors. But assuming he's only going to be throwing 1 or 2 of those at me a turn, I can handle them because in the game before against the 5 Greater Demons, he did charge me with like 2 to 3 big things like that. And then he swings with 1. You choose not to take your invuln, you take your armor save. Thanks, Matt, for pointing that out to me. Which is like a 6-up save instead of the 4-up invuln. You just pull as many as you need to come away, and then you pull the rest out of combat. So even though they have the attacks to kill you, and probably would, you can easily stop them. Because at the point where you're taking the saves, you know exactly where they are, exactly how far 4 inches is from those models, and how many models you need to kill. So in this game, he had 6/3/3 Blood Crushers, the big demons, some Nurglings, Rendmaster, and some Plague Bearers. So the way that game went was I threw the Warriors out kind of quite aggressively. He came at me with a 6-man and a 3-man squad of
Blood
these
Crushers.
Crushers, yeah. And then he actually rolled quite badly on his Impact Mortals, but he rolled well enough that I pulled the 3-man out of combat, the
Yeah,
6-man squad.
yeah, that is a real crutch for them because they have to do the mortals, and then you just pull out combat, and then they're just sat there like absolute knobheads.
Yeah.
But he'd started the Bloodthirster on the table, and he sort of ran it forwards and then pulled some squads through with the 6-inch. And I'd sent Illuminor Zeras onto the expansion objective, his expansion. So a 3-man charge there did basically nothing to him. He actually killed 1 in return, which I thought was hilarious. And then the
First time that's ever killed a model.
I know, right? The Bloodthirster went into the Warriors with the 2 units of Juggernauts. And what I realised is because that army has basically no shooting, he didn't shoot me with Be'lakor because he didn't want me to pull out. He actually did badly enough on the Impact Mortals and he also did badly enough on his attacks with the 6-man unit because I was able to pull enough out that he couldn't swing with more than, I think, 3, that he actually still got to attack with the Bloodthirster. He rolled quite badly, but it meant I ended up with about 4 to 5 left, so it was quite close to him taking the unit.
Yeah.
And then I managed to 8, 9, 10 back by the time it started the next turn. And I managed to kill his Bloodthirster to the wound. He ended up on 3 wounds left, and then Seras one-shotted him with his 3 damage shot.
Yours is
Otherwise,
better than all of ours together.
Yeah, mine does.
Tell me about it.
Mine couldn't even kill 4 rangers, so
Mine
It
was in
seems to be
combat once
really
with a
weird.
wave serpent for 4 straight turns. 4 straight turns, and it did 0 damage.
It's really weird. He either does amazing or nothing. It's the same as my
Yeah.
crypto thralls. For the whole event, I think I killed probably 3 models that were like guard bodies over like 3 games. They just would get like 8 attacks, 2 hits, 1 wound.
Wow.
6 attacks, 1 wound, no damage. It was so bad. Like my Saras either does everything or nothing.
Well, I find my opponent's Sarah's always does everything and mine does nothing, especially in the mirror. And I'm like, why can we swap Sarah's for a second? Because mine's doing nothing and yours is killing mine. So
Yeah, it's strangely bizarre because if you took the attacks and put them on something else, they'd do really well. If it was like a an Exalted 8-bound, that'd be amazing. But when it's Seras, he just seems
933. You're like, wow, this
Well,
is
why does he hit
actually
on threes? That's the problem.
it's
yeah,
Cryptech.
exactly.
Better than hitting on fours, like Cryptechs usually do.
Yeah, but he's like the supreme Cryptech. He should be hitting on twos. The size
Imagine
of
if
the
he
model.
was, imagine if he was just still a little crab like it used to be, like a tiny
175.
little crab.
That old model looks so terrible now, doesn't it?
I know.
It does.
If anybody ever has like the balls to try and put that on a normal size base and try and use it as that, I'll be like, you are removing that from the table,
Well,
my
no,
friend.
you just put that model on Serraz's base and
That's
run
what
it
I mean.
around
Like
like a.
that's what I'm saying. Like, and I was like, that needs to be on like a wine bottle on top of that, so I can see it.
You could put that model on Serraz's shoulder like it was a parrot, like it was
Yeah,
his
little
cyber eagle,
fucking.
right?
He looks like a droidica, like one of the rolling ones from Star Wars. So,
But,
did you end up? How did that rest of that chaos game
yeah,
go?
so basically, he ends up killing the Bloodthirster to the wound, which meant that I didn't have to charge it. I had about 11 warriors at the time. I didn't have to charge it with charge the Bloodthirster to get back on the objective and screen, which would have potentially risked if he rolled really well and I rolled badly. He could have killed the unit, which was fortunate. So I then charged some Fleshhounds, forced him to attack me. He did a single wound. I took the armor save, killed one, brought about 5 back.
The only
And
time
then,
that you ever don't want to hear that, it's like attack those warriors. Yeah,
yeah, because
you will be.
he was like, "Oh, I won't bother attacking. I'm not going to kill the unit." I was like, "I'm sorry, but I have to make you attack me because I need you to try and kill one of them."
A
And I
knife
got
point,
about 8
pretty
back.
much. It's
Yeah,
like,
and
give me
then from
models
that
back.
point, yeah, and then from that point, it was just because the maths, because Juggernauts are kind of a big threatening looking unit, but when you do the maths, actually, a 3-man unit of Scorpex for the Lord with the buffs sort of pretty much kills 6 quite
Yeah,
easily.
because they nerfed their invuln. They got a 5-up invuln now. So if you've got
Yeah,
any AP in combat, like if you're AP 2, they just die. They die so easily now in combat.
I remembered them being a 4-up, and I looked at the data sheet
Yeah.
and I thought, "Oh, this might be tough." And I was like, "They're 5-up," and I was like, "Oh, actually, maths wise, that
Yeah.
means I killed 4, maybe 5, and then what's there doesn't kill me back."
Yeah,
So
they gave them
I managed to kill
1 point of armor save and removed a point of invuln, which I thought was a bit of a mistake. But
Yeah, I'll take that all day. So
yeah,
I
wow.
managed to kill in one turn, killed the 3-man on with around Seras, some Scorpex charged and killed that. Killed the Bloodthirster, killed the 6-man, and then was in the middle. So the next turn, all he could do really was charge the Scorpex with a 4-up Fiona Pain with Be'lakor, and just killed the unit, didn't kill the Lord. And then after that, I just charged him repeatedly with the Warriors, kept Be'lakor stuck, and then just played the rest of the game. And I think that what was that 95-65 by the end. He had a couple of bad rolls. He had a couple of unfortunate charge rolls and things that go very well for him, and some bad dice rolls. But once Thirster was gone, once one of those big combat ones is gone, he just sort of can disrespect him at that point.
So 3-0 day one.
3
Not too
and
bad.
Yeah.
So you've so I've got a quick question that one of our viewers asked about your list. He said, "What are you using to do actions?" And I said that you've got the 2 solo destroyers, you've got like the Zeras, the warriors can do an action, so on. So was that what you were finding as well? Were you struggling to do actions?
Not struggling to have the pieces to do them, but sometimes having to use pieces I didn't want to do them, which would occasionally get me punished. Like in various games, say I'd have on a Crucible deployment, I might have a Scorpec unit up at the top left, and then I get a containment. So I've got a Flayed 1 unit and I've got a Scorpec unit. Say Flayed 1's on my expansion, and the Flayed 1s would do 1, but the Scorpec unit's too big to hide, so I'd have to send one of them to the other side of the wall to be able to get it in the corner. And then you get seen, something sees you and just solos the unit, and then you've just got a Lord, which is kind of difficult and frustrating. So I did put the 2 solo destroyers in for that reason. What I typically did was have one in outflank, and then one would be in a throwaway containment position. So if turn 1 I got containment, they could go there. And then if I get turn 1 area denial, because I didn't have the Overlord and the Warriors could only naturally advance, if I got an area denial on, say, a Crucible deployment, I would have to throw a Seras or a Scorpec unit with just one guy out to get an area denial, which again would usually result in them getting killed. That happened in the guard game, actually, where I had to put one out. I got area denial turn 1, a Lehman Russ sees him, kills the unit. So that actually isn't great, isn't ideal. Since I've changed this slightly for that. Do you want me to cover that now or later?
We can cover that at the end, yeah. Because we'll go through the list that you took at the end, and then we'll go through your changes and stuff as well.
Yeah, sure. So
So
generally, I mean, Seraph being loan up is useful. You just kind of you let the cards dictate where you go. So I'll always put stuff in positions where if turn one, Aerodynal and Containment come up, I can get those. Cleanse, if it comes up turn one, it's generally going to be like flayed one somewhere and you're just getting a two. There are some times where you have to accept you're not going to get that card on that turn if it comes up early. And there were there was some cards that would come up, say, a turn to engage where there's still a lot of presence on a certain deployment where I can't get a destroyer outflanking into their home field, for instance. And sometimes you just have to accept it and redraw the card.
yeah, yeah. Or extra CP is always. I mean, I guess you got thingy, don't you? So yeah. So I get you've got the extra CP to redraw. It's not. It's always. That's what I was saying. I mean, I said I don't know if you ever did it, but in a matchup where you didn't need the lethals, did you ever find yourself detaching the Scorpeths, or did you ever just always have them with the Lord?
No, I just found the value. Like, it is nice to be able to have one unit become two activations so you can send one out to kill something, then one to follow it. But I just found that the combination of the Lord having the dev wounds, the squad having the lethals, I just felt it gave me too much value in all the matchups to separate. So what I ended up doing, unfortunately, was putting Imatech in the Ghost Ark to start every game because I found there was too much value in those. Because I didn't realize, just because of how big the bloody model is, my brain forgot that Seras could have gone in the Ghost Ark.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's bigger than the Ghost Ark.
He's just big. I just thought he's not going to fit in the Ghost Ark. He can't go in it.
yeah.
So I did imitate.
One
So
infantry
basically,
character.
He also gets extra movement out of the Ghost Ark because his base is bigger than the three, so he gets an
yeah,
extra
exactly.
bit
He
of
gets an
movement,
extra
Exactly.
1 inch. It's like an extra
which
inch,
is a
isn't
bit
it?
naughty, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
it's
I
a weird thing.
I tend not to prefer to put him in there just because I put my warriors quite aggressively against a lot of armies, and I want that armor
yeah,
contempt
Yeah,
early on.
yeah, exactly.
on
Exactly.
Crucible,
Well,
it's really good.
I have changed it a little bit as a result, so I can kind of cover that at the end.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
you could have one Scorpex squad with the characters and then one without, so then you've got that one no feel, no pain character to go in the Ghost Ark and be a dummy at the start, and then
Yeah,
you've got
then you've
that
got
other
like your other
activation.
Scorpess that can sit
Yeah,
and do like the action and stuff. 'Cause that's what I was finding. Because obviously, I was always running 2 Scorpeths, 3 Lords. But then even then, in some matchups, especially against Eldar, when everyone was taking Azraman and stuff, like if they see those Scorpeths or a unit of Dark Reapers sees those Scorpeths, they're probably all dead.
yeah,
So
Predators as well.
yeah, Predators, stuff that will just kill the whole unit. So then this time I can poke something out, but then and then stuff you look at your opponent's list and you're like, okay, they've got loads of strength 7 in combat. This would wound my Scorpeth unit on 3s. Like me hitting on 2s to hitting on 3s re-rolling isn't too big, and lethals against some stuff like against Custodies, I'd rather just have them separately. Again, just because it's like just because they can kind of like
Weirdly,
one
against
shot the full squad.
Custodians, I'd want them together.
Really,
Yeah.
I've run them separately a lot because
Well,
I like the fact that they just can't one shot the whole unit.
I mean, Wardens, for example, if you bait out the feel no pain, the one's whole squad together because they're winning on 4s. You can fish for lethals at that point. Then you're hitting on 2s, so you don't really drop anything. And then you've got the Dev Wounds, and the Lord with the Dev Wounds gets through and kills a guy.
Yeah.
So against Custodians, I'd definitely keep them
Maybe
together.
Custodians is a bad example then,
Yes,
but
very bad
I
example.
did find
yeah,
I played Custodians a few times, and not this weekend, but I had played them, and I did find that you stick a Doomsday Arc out and the Mythic Destroyers, and they pop the feel no pain because the risk if they don't is the whole squad could die. And then when you hit them with Dev Wounds on damage 3 and like you say lethals, I do find it's valuable. But I do think you've got a point. I think it's a bit of a finesse play, and having only played that list for a week, it's such a different play style to the Vaults that I found there were so many different levels of things that I needed to consider, a few of which were tripping me up. So there are definite matchups. For instance, if you're going into Eldar and it's lots of MSU, then sure, yeah, you probably would have 6 squads instead of 3, right?
Yeah, definitely split them up because they overkill as well, and you don't want don't want stuff overkilled.
yeah. I mean, it's
But,
not
Yeah,
as lethal as it once was, but it's still pretty rough if you lose the full unit and the character.
oh,
And you
definitely.
don't,
Listen,
and that's definitely a matchup you don't need the lethals. But yeah,
in my game 2 against David, turn 1 I get Aerodynal, so because the Warriors couldn't reach, I had to advance my Scorpex. One guy goes out, gets the Aerodynal, I positioned it, he'd be able to see me with one tank, he gives me 6 3-up saves, I fail the first 4, whole squad's dead, character's nearly dead. and you're like, this for 5, like this feels bad
Well,
for 5.
that's why I always prefer the Lord with the Feel No Pain by himself. So if you do get area denial, then he does that, and then you're not wasting that 90 points of they just die because they get seen.
Because he was there. Yeah.
Yeah, for
I did
sure.
find them being with that Lord meant when someone would throw a hard threat out, so I'd throw like a Zeras out, they'd send something big to try and deal with him. I'd send that unit out, and then it would do a lot of damage, and then it would put the Lord that was the most difficult to kill in the best position, so that a lot of the time he wouldn't die because you just go, I just rolled quite a lot of 4-up inlands and then feel no pain, so I'm fine. Then you could throw that even further, which then with the 4-up feel no pain makes it even harder to kill. So I did get quite a lot of value out of having him with the squads. But there's definitely a time and place, I think, which I need to explore.
Yeah. I've only really played him on his own, so I'd like to do 3 score pest, 3 lords. But we'll jump straight into your 4th game. So you got Tyranids. What was that?
So,
what was the mission on that? Was that they changed it, haven't they? Now it's not Burden anymore
Yeah,
in UKTC.
so they changed it from Burden, thankfully. I despise that mission, and they made it Linchpin. So you do get to hold your home for some primary, and if you don't hold it, then you get less for all the other objectives. So there were 3 if you're not holding your home, or 5 if you are. So this matchup, I looked at the list, and it didn't have any Gene Stealers or Broodlords, which was wonderful because
they can
they're
one-shot
bad news.
you warriors easily.
Yeah.
They are bad news. And the only things it did have that were of potential concern was he had a 6-man unit of combat warriors, which I think they can get something like sustained and crit 5s. Maybe some stuff. They could potentially one-shot the squad. So, and then I didn't realise zone throbes don't just have las cannons; they also have blast shots.
Yeah. That used to be a big trouble unit at the start of the edition. That was like when we were only running Necron warriors. If somebody had that unit, I'd be like, okay, this is trouble.
Yeah, because when I got to the table, because I'd looked at it, I was like, okay, the only thing I'm scared of in this list is the warrior. And then I was like, so you've got nothing else that kills this unit, really, have you? And he was like, oh, these guys could. And I was like, what, 4 las cannon, 6 las cannon shots? He was like, no,
63 plus 24.
plus 24. And I was like, ooh, okay.
And a flamer from the Neurotyran that they often and they're hitting on 1s, 2s, and
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, right, okay, a little bit more respect given there. So my approach in this game was to sort of bait those units out, get them killed as quickly as possible, and then just disrespect the shit out of the rest. So what I did was threw the warriors out. He again sent some gaunts out into the middle, and I didn't want to put too much out because where he deployed, if I put my Doomsday Arc out to sea, he had like 11 little gaunts. If I put my Mytics or Doomsdays out to see them, Tyrannofexes would have been able to see me back. And I thought, I don't want to take the risk that he just pops it real early and then he can start being quite disrespectful to me. So he did get some middle primary on the first turn because he went first, so I couldn't get to the middle, like far enough to the middle to do enough. So he was up on the primary turn 2. My turn 2, I just got a 3. And then his turn 3, he continues to score. And then my turn 3, he goes, right, I'm going to do the battle shock thing. And I was like, okay, cool. And at this point, I had the warrior brick, not realizing I had the warrior brick strung out from my home to the middle, failed the leadership there, failed every single leadership, and cost me 13 points on primary. And then it meant that I couldn't score basically any secondaries of any unit on the table. So I failed every single battle shock. And I was like,
you've got the Royal Warden to unbattle shock in your shooting phase, don't forget.
Yeah, which I did, but it didn't help me on the primary, and they weren't sitting there to do secondaries at that point. So I was like, fuck. So I picked up the Mytics at the end of the turn, and I got behind enemy lines and containment. And I think I had to drop them somewhere which wasn't behind enemy lines. So basically, I got 3 on Bell and 3 on containment with my little hero destroyer that just sneaked into his backfield. But at that point, I was like, wow, this game this could be over if I don't pull this back. Because he was at that point about 30 points ahead of me. And it was not looking good. So I baited some stuff out. I baited his warriors out. So he sent an Exocrine sort of near his expansion objective because I'd infiltrated my flayed ones. And he'd sent some stuff to try and deal with them. His Exocrine came out, killed them. My Scorpix came out and left his Exocrine on 1 wound. He did a 5-up with a reroll and passed to live on 1 wound. And then he ended up with his Hive Tyrant in the middle. And then that turn, I sent out the warriors and I charged. He'd got defend. And I was obviously like, I needed to take a secret mission at this point. So I took the battle line in his home field one. And I had to check the wording was just within deployment, not wholly within. and my warriors just went on a little journey, and they charged his Hive Tyrant, 2 Tyrannofexes, and an Exocrine to get on his home, and strung from my home to his home across the middle. So I was on all 3 objectives. And it blocked his defend, stopped him getting his home for 3, meant his expansion was 2 less, and then everything just stayed there, and then I just killed it all over the course of the game. And by the end, got the secret mission, and I think it got me. How many points did it get me in the end? 65-79, so a low scoring game, but I managed to win by 14. So I'd have lost by about 6 if I didn't take that secret mission.
Yeah, that's funny. That
Squeaky
secret
run
mission. I didn't know that I didn't know it was just within. I didn't know that at all.
So
That's
literally,
so funny.
I was so hyper focused at that point because I was like, I'm fucked. Like, failed every single battle shock. I couldn't do anything. I was like, oh my god. So I even got a judge and just showed him the word, and I was like, just so I don't make any mistake, that says within, right? So I need 1 model partially in his deployment. He's like, yes. I was like, okay, that'll be okay then. I managed to.
That's
pull it back.
doable. Yeah, that's fucking good.
Like, holy
Funny
shit.
thing is, as well, is like if, for example, it got really tight and your unit was so far stringed across, and say you were going to lose like enough models from the front that you wouldn't be in his deployment zone anymore, you could like start taking from the back, and then at the end of the phase, just like kill the characters off to coherency because you're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So
So he actually made a little bit of a mistake, and it was one of those things where when someone goes, I've probably lost this game, so I'll just shoot this thing, and he did that, and he had his was it a Trigon or his Hive Tyrant or something? I had a Scorpec Lord in the middle in the combat, so I charged it to try and kill it, and then got the Hive Tyrant down to 1 wound, and he didn't kill me back. Then in his turn, he decided to attack the Scorpec Lord instead of attacking the warriors, and because I was sort of strung out on a line like this, I only had the ends where I had like 2 warriors and then the characters.
Yeah.
If he'd have just attacked me and killed 2 models, I'd have lost about whatever it is, 16, 17 models or something. I'd have had to string all the way back near the middle to my home. And he just decided, screw it, I'm going to lose anyway, so I'll just attack with a Scorpec Lord. Did 0 damage, and then the unit lived. So obviously, if it had just attacked me, I wouldn't have lost the unit, but it meant I wouldn't have blocked his defend, wouldn't have taken his home. I would have still got the secret mission because it would only have taken the unit back to around the middle of the table, and then I'd have res some back. But I realised I couldn't even pull. Well, actually, I realised afterwards what I should have done is I had them in a line, and I could have pulled like every other
That's
every
what
other
I was
warrior.
doing. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
that's what I do. Yeah.
And then use your Ghost Arc.
Yeah, would you
Exactly.
not
Goes
just
to
have rezzed anyway? Like you would have pulled and then rezzed into coherency
Yeah,
before you
but
died to coherency.
at the point when he did it, there was a reason why. I don't know if I'd already used the Ghost Arc in his shooting phase to come back, and there was some reason why I couldn't afford to pull away and then pull enough back. Maybe he'd killed like 11 or something, and I didn't think I'd get enough back, so the unit would pop. So I just had to pull.
So it
them back.
wasn't a full unit, basically.
Not at that point, but it
Yeah.
lasted long enough because he made that mistake in his targeting to where I did stop his defense, stop his home, and then the next turn when he got them down, it didn't matter because I just rezzed and then ran on his objective at the end.
Yeah, pulling every other model is one of the things I mentioned in the tips and tricks video that I posted of things you can do because you still will go into coherency because it obviously checks at the end of the turn, so it's a really good thing to do when you're strung out really, really far.
Do you know why it is as well? Why it was difficult for me because the last time I played this kind of army was it maybe the start of 9th when warriors could first do this? I think it was just on a 5-up. You just got back up at the end of a phase or something, or when people attacked.
No, it's after activation. It was on the 5-up.
It was
Rerolling
when a model
ones,
died, yeah.
but then you can have the reanimator give you a 4-up rerolling ones, which was always fun.
And then you could at that time string out, couldn't you? So you could start the unit here and then ball.
Yeah, you can start like adding and adding and adding and adding.
Yeah. So I remember in those days I played an Eldar player and he got 0 primary. He sort of charged the unit in my deployment zone and it ended up in his deployment zone. And he got no primary for the whole game. So since those days have gone, you actually have to be a reasonable human being.
It's really funny because
you could do that in 10th as well. At the start, they only changed it so like after a couple of months when they had to come back in coherency with models that were already on the table at the start of the phase.
Yeah, the very start.
It was just like, okay, I'll reanimate and then I'm going to add more and then I'm going to add more and add more. And,
Funny enough, though, in 9th edition, I always played it wrong, like it was 10th edition, so I never did it where I could just chain out. I was just like, I can only put it back in coherency, so I just nerfed myself for an entire edition of playing it incorrectly.
Nice.
But,
just to make it a challenge.
I know, but it wasn't that hard playing Necrons in 9th edition because it was literally like, can I get onto this objective? Yes, that's 4 points. Oh, I'm on this objective, that's another 4 points. It was just bullshit. Really, really low IQ. So you're 4-0. You've
Mhm.
crushed everyone with a couple of close wins and a lot of tricks, which is what I try and tell people. It's not just brain off, shove warriors. It is
It
just
really is.
knowing the tricks. You have to know the matchup inside and out. It's so then you got round 5, and you're against bloody Josh. What did you feel like when you drew Josh's name out of the hat and
Do you
Josh
know
went
what?
first?
So I played him last year with Netcrons as well, and he was playing Netcrons at that time. And he was world number one then. Obviously, went on to win the ITC last year. He's an extremely good player. Like, you can't discount Josh. Like, Liberator, Blood Angels are sort of good, but I'm not scared of the list. But I'm certainly paying attention when it's Josh. So that's how I was approaching it. Like, super, super attentive, very, very careful. Because his list was the Blood Angels Liberator, so it's got 663 Blade Guard, 1055 JPIs, super duper Smash Captain with Stern Guard, so we can still get all the reroll wounds, and then the 3 Ballistas and some Scouts and stuff. And it's one of those. It doesn't have any massive, amazing sort of Smash units, but it has enough that it can keep playing the mission well. He has obviously Mephiston and the Lone Up Lieutenant as well. So
Mhm.
when we were looking at the game, in the last time we played, I went first and I managed to sort of pip him. This time I rolled to go first and I rolled a 6 and I thought, oh, I don't want to go first again. And then he rolled a 6 and I thought, oh, nice one, we get another go. Then he
Totally
rolled a 4 and
dice.
I rolled 3 and I was like, nice one, you can have that.
Toilet dice.
Toilet.
Exactly. So that was that. I felt good immediately from that. 'Cause I thought, great, I've got a little bit of leeway here. So I thought, right, I'm just going to try and play for a draw, try and keep it very level. Then at the end, try and pip him. So he was very clever in that he tried to bait out my resources so that he could kind of overcharge me in the trades and interactions. So I infiltrated my flayed ones on the expansion at the top. And he had his Vanguard Vets turn 1, run up there and stand on the objective with 5OC on the other side of the wall. So he wanted to bait me into trying to charge the flayed ones into him, which then probably means I don't kill him, he does kill me, and then he's taken the primary. So I walked up to the wall, stood there, thought, no, if you want this, you will come on the other side of this and sort of try and take it from me. I'd advanced Illuminor Seras onto it, so I had 8OC on it. So he jumped around the other side of the wall and threw a grenade at them, killed 3. So I had 5OC on the point. He'd advanced a Dreadnought and Mephiston onto the other side of the wall again to sort of re-rack.
Mhm.
So he had 5OC, I had 5OC. Then he went and charged my Enmitic Destroyers, which I'd planned for and was okay with. So he sort of tagged them up. He actually killed 2, like used the strats, so like used the Lance with Strength 6, AP1. I just failed a buttload of saves and he killed 2. And I was like, wow, that was not what I needed. So I used the Resorb, got a load of those back. So then in my turn, I auto passed the leadership. So we had equal OC, and then obviously healed at least one, flayed one, got that back. And then the Warriors by that point had moved forward enough that I could charge and tag Mephiston and his Dreadnought and then put more OC on the point. He also, in his turn 2, sent the Lieutenant into the middle and started to burn the objective to obviously bait me into sending something serious to deal with him. So again, I sort of declined the offer of giving him free resources and made sure that when I charged Mephiston, I'd positioned so that I could move closer to the nearest enemy unit or objective and get on the middle as well to counter his OC so it stopped the burn. His second turn, he steps out again with the Lieutenant, start burning again. He puts some more OC on the middle objective. He sends Mephiston forward, charge some stuff. I rapid ingress. I was waiting for a good rapid ingress, but he was smart enough on his expansion. He had his Blade Guard and an Impulsor, some JPIs and Scouts, and he just perfectly screened out his whole board, so I couldn't get anywhere near it. And it was like his turn
Mhm.
3. So he sent Mephiston in to kill the flayed ones, so that I couldn't keep using the same chaff unit. So I rapid ingressed my destroyers at the top left behind the wall where I had some other destroyers. And the next turn, I sent my Enmitics out and shot him. I think I did about 3 damage, which wasn't ideal. Then it was like, then I charged him with both Scorpec units, hoping the Impact Mortals would finish him off. Left him on like a wound. He fights first. I didn't realize actually because he's strong and his AP is good, but his damage isn't very good. It's only D3,
No.
and so he got like 3 or 4 wounds through, and it was like 1, 1, 2,
It's the classic
2.
librarians like Space Marine curse where they just do D3 damage for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. So I managed to get Mephiston dead. At that point, I'd thrown the Scorpex forward, so that they were on my expansion. I sent my Feel No Pain Scorpex into his middle, where he had the 6 Blade Guard, 3 Blade Guard, his Impulsor full of the Smash Captain, and what else did he have? The 10-man JPIs. So the 10-man JPIs were the only unit I was worried about because you can advance and charge. They're fast. They're strength 6 on the charge, and they have, I think, 50 attacks. And they can have lance. They're strength 5.
Yeah.
And obviously with Oath as well, you can get full rerolls to hit. So I always kept Seras near the Warriors because turning the AP1 to AP0 completely flips the maths, where 18 of those wounds now have to go to kill the Crypto Thralls. And now it goes from he could kill that unit to he almost definitely doesn't kill that unit.
Yeah, the Crypto Thralls having a 3+ save base is a lifesaver sometimes.
Yeah, it can be super significant. So the turn when I'd sort of hit Mephiston, I also charged my Feel No Pain Lord into that middle block. Unfortunately, I could only get the Lord because of the, you've got the little L terrain, then you've got the piece of card terrain with the two sort of L pieces on it. And because of that position, that interaction of where he had the models, I could only get the Lord into engagement range with the Blade Guard. But what it did do was, because he'd started burning again, I moved my Scorpex out and said, "Do you want a reactive move?" So reactive moved the lieutenant back behind the wall, so it stopped the burn. Then charging, tagged up the Blade Guard and the Impulsor. I just wanted to stop him being able to push like easily out into my warriors and start, threatening me. And then he didn't kill enough in return to break anything out of combat. So the Lord stayed there, the squad stayed there with 1 or 2 models left. And then he started running out of time. Like his clock was really low on turn 3. He had about, I don't know, maybe like 10 minutes left. I had about 20. But then it got really, really tight towards the end on time, like really, really close. At the end of the game, we came down to having like 47 seconds each. My last turn, I had like 1 minute and 13 seconds. It was ridiculous. So on my turn 4, I just yeeted everything at him as much as I could at him. His expansion, he was just staying there and holding it. He dropped some stuff to get, like, he got behind enemy lines and Locust, and he wanted to screen again his expansion. So he dropped those there on turn 3. So I'd sort of, again, this is like the Doomsday Act, stayed on my home objective for nearly the whole game. It came back, it killed the JPIs and the scouts with the help of the Ghost Ark and just stayed and anchored that point. He had his Dreadnought on my objective, so I charged that on my turn 3 and killed it. And then on my turn 4, I ran at his home objective, made maybe an 8-inch charge, I think. No, sorry, turn 4, it was my... So he eventually kills my Lord with a Feel No Pain, which is why I like throwing him in the danger zones. It took a lot to get through him. It took him my round where I charged and his round to kill him. Then he got back up in the combat phase. Then he ran round, made a reasonable charge into the Dreadnought he had on his home objective. I did the extra strength and AP strat, so I was wounded on 3s, giving him 6-up saves. He Armour of Contempted. I gave him 4 saves. He failed all 4 5-ups, killed the Dreadnought, got on his home objective. And then on the last turn, I was able to just move forward, and I had like 1 minute and 13 seconds left. I couldn't even look at the score properly, and I had to just be like, right. On my turn 4, I'd moved Imitek, who was in the middle, onto the middle objective and started to burn. And I surrounded him with warriors so that he couldn't charge me, and he wasn't able to shoot me because of where things were positioned. Got that burn turn 4, and on turn 5, like everyone stood around the table. I had like 1 minute and 13 seconds. I was like, I'll go in your home, try and kill this stuff in the middle. Failed to kill the stuff in the middle, burnt his home, and it was a 87-75 victory. So it felt so close. And like the time,
really
literally, like I had to stop rolling dice. It was like clock out, time done. So just,
it's hard like that sometimes.
Yeah, man, like that's the most stressful a clock has been in a game for me for such a long time. Because when I was looking at it, like with clocks, like in my first, the guy was, a little more new to the tournament scene and clocks and stuff. So I gave him some of my time because, like, as long as we get to the end of the game, I'm okay with that. Unfortunately, like I said, I nearly missed my last turn, so that sort of was to my detriment. But in this game, against a game of an opponent of the caliber of a Josh, if you clock out, your game's over. Like, you're too good, you're too high level to be running out of time and hoping to use mine. So I was sort of looking at it thinking, like, you never want the clock to be a reason you win the game. But I thought, well, this is going to be helpful if he runs out of time. And then when I was sort of running out of time, I thought, fuck, like I had to really...
Not like this.
Yeah, the Warriors take a lot of time out of the game because it's, reanimating, putting models, pulling models, grabbing them, making sure in the right position, coherency, and you're like, it does actually take a lot of time out of the game. So if they engage them early in turn 1, then they're doing it for 5 turns. You have to be really quick with everything else that you do, and just like not take a long amount of time because that happened to me, I guess. In round 2,
it is, and it's one of those things where you've got to go, what's important? Like, if I'm going to string from my home to my expansion to the middle, what's important? Do I care about getting a few more attacks on a Space Marine squad? No. Just move them. They're here. I've got more OC than you. They're in currency, good. Boom, move on. And that's something that I realise is really important now, because there are a few times towards the end of games where I was getting a little low on time, and it is when you're doing those plays where you want to wrap this, tag that, move this, trap that, but make sure you can pile onto that objective whilst not moving off your home objective and still having yourself in range of the ghost arc and the reanimator after a charge. So it does take a bit of admin, but I think it's a reps thing, right? The more reps you play, the easier that will become.
Absolutely, because you're in the same position, so you don't need to think about what you're doing. You just do it at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because that's where I got with like the double vault list, where any deployment I go, this goes here, this goes here. Like I don't even look at what you're doing. I know where everything goes. I know where everything's going to move. I know all the angles are. So the fact I've only played this sort of for a week means I don't yet have those reps to go to just sort of know exactly where everything should go.
It's just planning your first turn out and knowing where your warriors want to try and be. But then it's so reactive depending on what your opponent does that you kind of got on like. I always think of it in my head like a flow chart. I'm kind of just like, okay, if this is happening, this happens, and then it splits off, and it's like, okay, they've done this, so this like split off. Oh, more OC here.
Mate,
we'll move it here.
I could just imagine what your flow chart looks like. It'd be like someone's just dropped a shitload of spaghetti on the floor.
Yeah, it's
absolutely everywhere, wild. Just jumbled of everything, and you're trying to follow it, and it's like. I don't know where this one goes.
You know, it's like the Pepe Sylvia meme from Always Sunny, where it's just got like red lines everywhere, and he's fucking looking on the board. Yeah. Oh, that's like literally my head.
You know what? I watched your last episode to sort of get caught up before tonight, and I thought, let's see what it's about. And it's basically just Matt being a retard and Andy disapproving of your life decisions, which I can get behind.
That's it. That's what we're all about. Number one Necron podcast, baby. Yeah. So you're 5-0. You've beat Josh. You're undefeated. You're going into the top cut because they've changed the way that UKTC top cuts work now, and everybody is in the top cut if you're undefeated. And apparently, even if you have lost, I don't know, well, top 8 players, right?
It's Josh, right? So because Josh,
yeah, they're just like, come on, Josh.
Well, it's automatically he's automatically got a spot in the top 8 because that's what he does every time.
Yeah, it's like second life.
You know, no one believes that he lost.
It's his top 8, and everyone else just gets to join.
Like, how did Danny cheat against you? Like, what did he do to what did he weaponize the clock? Like, come to top 8. You still got a chance to win this thing, baby.
Yeah. So basically, he literally still had a chance to win the event, being in the top 8, having lost. I think they had maybe 6 undefeated, but it meant that you wouldn't get another 2 rounds out of it. So then they invited the next 2 top players, which are defeated ones, into the top 8.
If I beat him round 5 and then he placed again like higher than me, I would have been fuming.
Yeah, and it was possible, and that's the conversation I had. I was like, so he could actually still place higher than me. And I was like, oh, that could suck.
Yeah, so I don't like that version. I think they should just do undefeated because they've ended up with 2 undefeated anyway. So they should have just done top 6, right? I guess.
Thing is though, at 4-1, you've always got something to play for potentially because you could make that top cut. Yeah. So it gives people something else to play for at the end, and you could be that guy.
Overall, I very much approve of how they've changed it, because before it was like you're only getting in the top 8 or top 4 as it was if you're getting 494 points or something. It was just crazy, and it meant certain archetypes were never going to do it.
Certain Nottingham was 12 points dropped.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is just crazy.
Right? A lot of that comes down to the match and the look in the pairings. Like, do you get the kittens? And
if you get a good round 4, if you get a good round 4, which is Burden, you need a good. If you get somebody that's competent on Burden, you're not getting top court. It's just not happening.
You're getting 60 points,
and that's it. If you get a good player or 2 good players hit each other, like Vic and Manny hit each other round 1. It's like you potentially, if it was the old system, maybe neither of you are getting in them because it's going to be a close game. You're not going to win by a huge margin. So the fact that everyone now has a chance, all you have to do is be good enough with your faction to go undefeated. I think that's really, really positive. And that's really good.
It is nice. Plus, because the tournaments are getting bigger as well, unless they squeeze another round in, like play 4 games on the Saturday and 2 on the Sunday, that is, that's the only way they can realistically resolve it, because tournaments like Magic, when they get big tournaments, you just play an extra round, so the day just lasts longer, but the rounds only take an hour each. You can't do that with Warhammer. It's like, right, we're playing till midnight tonight, guys, and then we're starting again at 7.
That's what GW would say. It's like, we're just going to do... It's like all the controversy about Adepticon or whatever, where they did 4 games and then 2 games, and some guy showed up, said that he was late said that he was going to be late. He messaged saying he was going to be late for the
TJ
check-in.
Lanigan, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then they were just like, "No, you're not playing, mate."
Mhm.
Even though he was 5 minutes late, they just kicked him
Yeah.
off. He was like
Could-
top cut, and they
Really?
kicked him off. Yeah,
Could you imagine if they did like London GT, but they did it the Blackpool 24-hour style, where you could play all your
Yeah.
games in 24 hours at London GT?
That was
you play
crazy that they
rounds.
did that. Then a local round me did a 24-hour tournament, like 8 games in 24 hours.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I did an Ironman in Amsterdam a few years ago, which was 5 games, and by the end of
Yeah.
that, I was going a bit delirious. Like I sort of didn't know where I was. So 8 games, I can't imagine.
Yeah, they started at 7 p.m. Friday and finished 7 p.m. Saturday.
But they didn't even schedule any time for food, breaks.
They did
drinks.
breaks. Yeah,
Well,
they did schedule it. Yeah,
So
it wasn't enough for like you'd be
3-hour
losing your
rounds.
mind.
Three-
You'd
I
be
mean,
losing your mind.
You need
like-
3-hour rounds when you're playing game number 8. You can't exactly be
You'd
playing
be like,
2.5 hours.
I'd be a puddle of piss on the floor, like playing. My
You
8
know,
games was like,
it's like,
dribbling.
Clock's on you. It's your turn. I'm just going to have a nap while you move.
I'd just be like,
I'll just trust you.
it'd be like me at the ITT, but sleep deprived instead of drunk. Like,
Yeah.
So
dribbling.
what were you like then at 7 in the morning? If you started at 7 p.m., what were you like at 7:45 in the morning?
Oh, I
12
didn't
hours.
play. I didn't play.
We didn't play.
No, I wanted
I
to go, but I didn't.
didn't-
None of my friends wanted to go. I didn't want to go by myself.
I just couldn't do it. I had a tournament actually. I think it was the same weekend as the ITT. So yeah, I was just even if I didn't, it would have been a struggle to play that many games. I do an Ironman. Like I think they're going to do another Ironman. I'll definitely do an Ironman, but
that's the kind of thing that I would do it for the challenge just because I'm a mentally ill retard. But
yeah,
you just
but
know.
it's staying awake. Like it was. I'd finish work on Friday at 5 o'clock. I'd brush my teeth and have tea, and then just go to.
And that's it. If you could sleep until 7 o'clock and then play.
If you've got like a late schedule.
I did a GT at my Element, where the night before one of my friends had his like a birthday gathering, and he just has a lock in there because just loads of people come down. We just play games all night. So I was there from like 2 in the morning. And just played and then just waited around until the event had started, and then I played 5 rounds of Warhammer in 2 days. But that was fine because I find that when it's the downtime, that's when you get quite tired. But when you get into the actual games, then you just kind of you can't start concentrating again. You eat something and you get your game face on and you're okay. But then once the game finishes, you just be like, oh, I need to go to sleep.
Just collapse.
All right, so we've got 2 rounds left. You've got round 6. You're against Tau. You're in top cut. What is the game plan here? What's the mission?
So
Easy.
this actually, this mission, this was Burden, which actually I have a history with Burden.
Let's keep it in.
Whenever I'm playing like a shooting army, like the double vault army, every single round for Burden, I'll just be like, it's going to be a combat pressure army 100% of the time. And it would be like Orcs or World Eaters every single time. Then they got rid of the mission for round 4, and I was like, brilliant, it's so good. And I'd not made a top cut since they changed it. So I was like, oh, it's gone now. So I just thought it went missions 4, 5, and then 6, 7 was 4, 5 again, because I knew 7 was Scorched Earth. So I was like, oh, it's Burden. It's Linchpin, right? And he's like, no, it's Burden. And I was like, this is 270 wounds of crew. Oh, I don't know if I get through this. I was like, oh, shit.
I mean, you've had that experience before playing crew at Coventry, right?
Exactly. It was this. Although this list was better in that it had no Tau in it, so it didn't have any real range to it. Like it had the guerrilla guys with the shooting, but it's not like hammerheads and
Piranha, I think that was in there.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. But my opponent basically had to drop, so we didn't play this game fully through. Basically, he had to leave and cut and run. So basically, he just said, "Look, can we just draw the cards? I get this, you get that. I go here, you go there, and I'm going to have to drop." So I wouldn't count the outcome of that game.
Easy peasy, lemon
Wow.
squeezy.
Why do I never get any of those games?
Yeah, I'm not going to complain because
It's not fair.
when I'd seen him, I just saw Tau and I thought, I can't wait to play Tau. Tau can do nothing to me because they're a monophase army that just shoots me. I get up, I don't care. I tag them, I do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Then I looked at the list and I was like, that's not the Tau list I was expecting.
Just roadblock you. Yeah, I mean, Tau playing against monophase shooting is so much easier than monophase melee when it comes to playing this list because the warriors always survive and they can't get the multiple activations, and the characters they just can't deal with them when they get
The
back
stealth
up.
just gives you like 13%
Yeah.
like decrease of being shot or whatever.
It's
You know,
huge. And
fewer
cover
hits.
and armor contempt, and they just
Yeah.
go, well, crap. Yeah.
The whole business, but then you just get combat. It's just like, yes, I'm going to activate 60 attacks into you, bitch.
It's such a bizarre army as well. Like like it's so sort of hard to play into because like when I played it before when Tony ran it, when it was again burden, so it's that search and destroy deployment, you're not scoring any primary for your home. And he goes, right, I've got, a lone up character, I'll just infiltrate that here. Oh, it's also 12-inch anti-deep strike and it's behind a wall. So
Yeah, that
good
was
luck
coming in.
playing. Yeah, good luck playing a type crypt,
Yeah.
getting anywhere near that quadrant.
Yeah, it's like that other one where it's like, yeah, this is a lone op character that's really good at buffing and it reactive moves when
Yeah.
it fucking
Yeah.
shoots, it fire and fades.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then they go, oh, at the other end of the board, there's another lone up character, Shadow Sun, with another lone up character.
Mhm.
And if you thought about going anywhere near that, here's 20 crew which have infiltrated in front of all of that, so you can never get anywhere within 12 of it to shoot it in the first place. But I've got 20 man units of crew, which are super easy to kill. Oh, but they've all got stealth, they all scout, they sticky objectives, 5
Feel
of
no
them.
pain.
You get 5 of them, and you're like, are these Space Marines? Like, what is this?
Oh, and it
How
only
am I
costs
supposed
80 points. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like a better
Yeah,
version of AdMech.
how am I supposed to get through this? So the game, like I sort of won't cover the game because we didn't it didn't
Yeah,
get
fair
played
enough.
properly all the way through. But
Well, we can jump.
I mean,
we
he
can
was
jump
also
straight to
he was also playing more rampages as well, which are really good.
he
they
did,
are
yes.
very, very good.
Yeah.
He had 36 of those bodies, which for the points again. So when I'd looked at it, I thought, so you've got the rampages, which are the combat ones, and then you've got the shooty ones. He was like, well, no, they're both the same. It's just one of them shoots as well. And I was like, so it does the same thing in combat. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And they've got 5 wounds, so a terrible sort of break point of wounds to kill. They have a 5 of Pinbun as well, and they have something like 54 attack. It was just an amount of stuff that I thought, how does anyone get through this? And apparently no one does, which is why I was undefeated.
I was
and went into
undefeated.
it.
I mean, a
Yeah.
Hyperlist could do that with the Vault because it does have enough DACA to kind of punch through all of that. But
Yeah, I do think that like my double vault list could because that one doesn't have the hammerheads,
Yeah.
it doesn't have the piranhas, it doesn't have anything that's threatening me at range. Really, I can just shoot it off the
you
table.
just
But
run at him, yeah.
yeah, but so for the awakened, we sort of out to see what would happen. So I'd sort of threw a Luminar Seras out. He threw some gorillas in. Not sure what the averages should be, but it didn't kill Seras. Seras was then able to fall back. Some Scorpex went in, killed enough that they didn't kill me back. So it seems like the units you do have some play into them, but it's just the fact that you can just infiltrate, move block you, keep sending waves and waves and waves of stuff to just take OC, take objectives. Like it's quite an obnoxious matchup. It's not a matchup that I would ever want.
Yeah, it's also hard to play on their side because there's a lot of models and they can quite easily time out if they start doing things that they don't need to do and concentrate on.
Yeah, they've got to be super focused on what they do, right? Streamline.
Rather you than me, though.
But yeah, so that was that one. So fortunately, managed to kind of dodge that matchup, and then
So what happened in your last game?
So final against Gustavo, the Portuguese fuck, and his guard. He was lovely, but he actually managed to gaslight me, and it changed how I played the game. So I do owe him one for that. He was trying to bait me. So again, scorched earth again, and I realized a deployment sort of archetype mistake that I made. My macro strategy in that game was I'd been used to, because I played Emperor's Children once, and I'd put the characters behind my home objective, my home terrain piece, but it may as well be known it was Naz. It's always bloody Naz, who just YOLO'd a 9-inch charge of Demon Prince. Oh, he makes it. And then he kills Orican as a 10-man infractor unit, then hits the 20-man warriors that now don't have a 4-pin bun and they all die. As a result of that, I was like hyper sensitive to not lose the characters. So they would always be sort of right behind my home L or behind the middle if I felt they were safe enough to get out there. So as a result of that, I didn't think to put the unit in the top left opposite my expansion, which is where they should have been. So they were in the middle, sort of running towards the expansion. And the way the game played, it meant he was able to take primary off me for 3 turns on that expansion just by either, the old send the Chimera, get the unit out, take the objective. Yeah. Then his Krieg bricks in the middle, move blocking me. And I was trying not to expose my Doomsday Arc, so I just shot it with the Warriors and charged it, thinking I'd probably kill enough to not bring it back. And he, to the wound, kept just enough to be able to, with a decent res and a desperate breakout, which he made, fall back, get on the objective with a move, and then in his command phase, then give it extra OC to be able to take the specific number of OC that I had away and take the objective again. So I kind of made a macro deployment error in deploying kind of in the middle. So I realized that with the characters, you have to say, right, are they just shooting precision? Do they have any of that? Then you can put them in the middle because they're probably not getting there and it's not impactful. Do they have combat precision? Then maybe you have to be a bit more careful and deploy the characters more back. But I didn't read that early enough, and we just kind of set into that default safe mode of keeping the characters alive. So instead of having the brick at the top where it should have been, it was in the middle, which meant 3 turns of primary. And then as a result, I ended up having to, because I was going first, I had the pressure to perform. So I was having to make more and more kind of bold and aggressive plays to try and claw back the points differential that was being created. And he didn't have to do that. And then a few of those plays didn't quite pan out, which meant the points kept sort of running away a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. And then with his endgame scoring, he was able to just kind of take it away. And I ended up losing that one by about 19, 20 points, I think it was. Let me have a look. That was 22 points. So I think if I played it again, I think I could play that one to a victory even if I went first, because I did beat it in the round 2 match.
Mm-hmm.
But what he gaslighted me into was he tried a few times, and again, like, bear in mind this is round 7, right? So we're both like tired as hell. I still had barely like let go of the stress of the clock of the Josh Roberts game. So like my brain was like melted at this point. And when he did a move like he sent a Taurox forward. In fact, that was how he got the 3rd point of primary off me. He sent a Taurox forward, jumped the unit out and shot and killed something. Then I killed that and I charged the Warriors and wrapped his Taurox. And he went, oh, well, I'll desperate breakout, fail it, then pass it with a reroll, and then get just enough OC onto your objective to take your objective off you. And I was like, oh, because I think I had a Ghost Arc and maybe he gave it an order to make it 3 OC. And like just these, like all these things went together to sort of get just the thing he needed. And when he jumped the guys out, he was like, oh, would you like to Overwatch them? And I was like, no. And he's like, oh, you're the first person who hasn't sort of fallen for that bait. And he kept sort of like, we were having like a real good time. Like we had a lot of fun. But he was like trying to bait me with stuff and kind of taking the piss out of me. And then he was like, yeah, I can't wait till turn 2 because my Scion's going to kill those Warriors. And I was like, no, I don't think they kill the Warriors, do they? And he was like, well, they have this many shots here, this many shots here. And I was like, how many shots is everything? And again, because my brain was so fried, I thought, that math sounds wrong. But what I didn't want to do was assume the maths was not good, him go for it, him be right, me lose the Warriors and auto lose the game. So it changed how I moved on my turn 2. I didn't go as aggressively into the middle as I was going to, which then meant he could then do the little tricks that he'd done to get the models on my OC. And then at the end of the game, right, I was like, I'm certain they don't kill the Warriors. Shoot my Warriors. He killed 2, like after the res, and I was like, you motherfucker. I was like, you got me. So he literally like tricked me into.
Yeah, it's really, really about knowing it all. It's and when you're 7 games deep, it's really hard. And some people do tease each other, like stuff like that, like because it's the power of like over analyzing all the information. But some people do it all. I do it sometimes. I'm just like, I could go here and do this. By the way, I'm just letting you know.
Like, I do it. Like everyone does it, right? You're like, look, potentially I could do this. So you might want to
tell your opponent what you can potentially do. And then they're like, oh, actually, I might not do that then. I might stay far back.
I did it to myself round 4 at Sheffield, where I was convinced that one of his bricks could kill my Warriors in one activation. So I just played really cagey. And at the end, we actually mathed it out, and I obviously miscarried the 1 or something.
If I don't know,
there was no chance.
I just asked him to put the clock on me. I'm like, just roll it out. I want to see what you do. And that's like the only way I can visualize it mathematically, because I can't like just be like, oh, the numbers, this, and this. I'm just like, just roll it for me. Roll every buff that you think you can have, and then roll it against math.
Yeah, but then sometimes they roll really poorly on that one thing, and
but you'll see.
False confidence, and you're like, oh right, okay, cool.
No, but you'll see that though. Yeah. You'll be able to know if it's poor because you'll be like, oh well, okay. Say you got a bit luckier, probably only these couple will die. The way I look at it is, can you hand me 40 saves, but it's more because you have thralls? Can you hand me 40 saves? And that's like how I look if I can die in one go,
Well,
and if I
it's
can't,
52 4-ups at 1 damage, right?
Yeah.
yeah. So
It's a lot.
52 is a lot, and then if they're AP1 and they don't ignore cover,
Well, you got a CP
AP2, then you've got
Yes.
you've got 3 up saves or whatever.
See,
So
the problem for me is it was a lack of reps meant that there was a lot of maths for I'd looked at all of the big sort of meta armies, say like Orcs with Mordaka, and I was like, nah, that doesn't even come close. Even with looters with like stupid shots in the blast, doesn't even come close to sort of taking the unit out.
Yeah.
It was just because Scions wasn't a unit that is, Bridgehead's gone,
Yeah.
so it wasn't a big unit in
it
the
depends if
meta.
he goes like
It
hot
wasn't.
shot and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
That was it. Like I think he had like 18 and 14 shots or something from the different volley guns and hot shots. And I just didn't know the maths, unfortunately. So it's like, always do the maths, always know that maths. Because had I known that, I'd be like, come at me and run at him.
Because he doesn't. If he had engineers still in his list, like if they were still a thing, then it is entirely possible because they can just do a lot of mortal wounds beforehand. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that is a lot more annoying. But
All he
yeah,
had
on Scorched
was
Earth,
Cassie.
like the main thing is like just lock down your tens because against guard as well, it's so fucking difficult to because they just move the Tauroxes 21 inches, get out, and then it's 30 OC. And guard have a
And that
lot of
was it.
OC tricks.
And I actually got around that turn too because so I went first. I advanced towards the objective and I put Seras on it and maybe the flayed ones, something like that. And he, because of where he deployed his Taurox, he sort of advanced. Did you want to, no, it was a Chimera. The move that he wanted to do, he wanted to advance to get on it, and he by 1 inch didn't roll enough to get on it. Then he realized he could have just moved and got out and got enough on to outdo it. But again, this was kind of like a game 7 brain fart
Yeah,
of
you
his.
can't. Yeah.
But like all of the ways that he'd taken my primary were ways that I allowed him to. So like the Torx falling back on my home
Just
objective.
like knowledge. I've played against Nass's guard so many times now. I just know exactly what to expect because if it really throws you off the first time you see a competent guard player, just be like, yeah, I can just move. They'll just push forward, shove tanks forward. That's how you play guard. You like move tank forward, tank go forward, tank get guys out, guys steal point. Like this 60-point unit that just takes point off anyone.
You just overload them with too much stuff, and
and they have so much stuff in the list. Like they do, they have so many units in the list that it's so difficult. You have to do something to lock down that primary. On scores where you're punished,
Yeah, and what he was good at was so he had his bricks, one facing his expansion, smart, wish I'd done that, and one in the middle. And the one in the middle, he basically, I don't think he shot my warriors once in the whole game because he was like, I know, because I was in the middle on my home and near the expansion, and he's trying to block stuff and take my OC, and he's like, I know that you will find a way if I shoot anything to be where I don't want you to be, so I'm just not going to attack you at all, but I'm just going to move block you completely for about 3 turns. So by turn 4, I had Seras right near his home. I had my paying guy killing tanks right near his home. They were both right, like inches away from his home objective. But I think it was the only time in the whole event Seras died because the Rogaldon shot him for a turn, didn't kill him, and then shot him another turn, did kill him. And he had a Lehman Russ next to me. So if I got him back up, he was just going to charge and tag me. My turn 5, falling back onto his home objective. He had his like Cadian command squad nurse, let's say about 30 OC on it. It's like, there is no point getting him back. There is nothing that I can actually do that impacts the game at this point.
Yeah, sometimes just letting them die is unfortunate, but if it benefits your opponent. I've played games where Zeros has been on objective and my opponent's like stood next to him, not been on the objective and shot him, and I'm like, well, he's just going to die in combat. I'm just going to, if he dies to the shooting, I'm just going to let him die and you don't get the primary.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to
Yeah,
worry.
exactly. I do think that loss was definitely a lack of reps with that army into guard. Like the difference between this game and that game was that in the first guard game, I didn't anticipate he would kill the warriors, and he didn't go for it. He went for something else. So I protected the Enmitics, but by protecting the Enmitics, I kept them far back enough that they were safe. But he was able to screen. I never got a good angle on the unit that I wanted to hit. And then again, this was a round 7 tired mistake because you have your home objective here, and I had stuff on the outside of it to stop him being able to get a line. I didn't want to put stuff on the inside because he could drop the Scions behind me and see me. I just didn't see what was there, and I thought I put a Ghost Ark and Imitech there, but I'd only put not Ghost Ark and Imitech. I thought I'd put the Enmitics and the Ghost Ark on there, but I'd only put the Enmitics on there. So the last turn where I had a good angle, he was like, well, if you take it, you get no primary. And I was like, oh, for God's sake. So I couldn't even pick them up. And I was like, you know what I mean? It was one of those things where the lack of reps of this army into that army, the 7 games in, it was just like enough for me to make those mistakes.
Yeah,
I think if I went back to that exact game again, I think I could play that game, even going first. I think I could play that game to either a small win or maybe a small loss going first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really swingy first, second against guard. It's just mass OC that, it's difficult to deal with. So
is it time to put the CCB in the list then? That's the question.
That's what a lot of people say that they want to do, but I just can't. I just can't bring myself to do it. I just can't do it. It's another 120 Catacomb Command Bar, just the one that gives +1 OC, Resorb. It's just another 120 points of just nothing burger. I don't want to buff the Warriors anymore. They do what they need to do. I need another 1,500 points of list to play the game.
What does he need? So what does he do? Gives you extra OC and a Resorb?
It gives everything within 6 inches +1 OC. So the Warriors become 3 OC each. Obviously, it helps if they get Battle Shock because they still retain their OC, and obviously it gives them a Resorb as well, so they can still res quite a bit more. But
what I do think is cute, like what I see in that, having taken the Overlord out of the squad, is there's some cute little interactions that you can do, like burning objectives and terraforming, where I checked this with the TO and they said it works. So for instance, say if you step out of a model and you start a burn, then they come and shoot you and you pull the models away. So say if you start burning and they go, well, you want to be there at the end of my turn, so I'm going to move 4 shooting units that will kill that squad. You pull behind the wall with the first activation and they go, you now can't complete that burn because you're not there. And then if you use the strat immediately and come back, you're obviously still there, they can shoot you. But what you could do is at the end of their charge phase, use the Resor, bring that model back, and then at the end of their turn now, they can't decide the ordering of things because the model's already there. You complete the burn and you get it. Same with Terraform. That, it gives you an opportunity for that kind of jank, which could be kind of cute and clever. But if it's that many points, I don't think there's anything else.
I can't cut 120 points of anything.
No,
it's just not going to happen.
And
you don't need it, right? As well.
With the Immortals, it would be quite nice because having a Resorb on them, because obviously I ran Immortals and Warriors, so having Resorb for those guys would be quite.
Or
nice.
If you're running like Wraiths and Warriors or 40 Warriors, maybe.
Wraiths definitely, because they could do with the Resorb, which they don't get naturally.
So it's like, maybe, just not for me. So I'm going to share the list now that we've come to the end. And I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to grab it. There we go, look at that. Actually, I'm going to put us to the side. How fancy. Look at that. So, this is your list that you ran for everyone. It's Imhotep, Zeraz, Orokin, Locust Lord with the Resorb and the Blade because he needs a bit of combat. And the Veil to pull. Royal Warden with the Martinus one to be shot. Stealth. 4 at 300 paint on Scorpio Lord and 2 more. 20 Warriors with Gauss Reapers because AP is good. Cryptofrauds famously with a shooting weapon. I didn't even realise till 2 days ago. They actually have a gun.
2 6-inch pistols.
I just didn't know.
They used to be pistols. They're not pistols anymore, unfortunately.
No, just didn't even know. 5 flayed ones because flayed ones are S tier. 3 Scorpio units of 3, which are also really good. 2 single destroyers per actions. Heavies with Emetics. Reanimator for rezzing. DDA for Shooty and Ghost Arc. So, what would you change?
Or what have you changed already?
What have you changed already? What would you change?
Is I've dropped the 2 Solar Destroyers back to a hex mark because I had 5 points. It was 1995. The reason for that is there were certain games where I wanted Seraz to run onto their expansion objective and force them to have to come real close to me to hit me. But the only way I could do that is by having, say, a Scorpex behind the wall. But then there were times where I'd need to charge something and charge out of that range. Being able to have a hex mark where I need him to can just follow him around and it's a loan up, given a loan up, is kind of cute and useful.
But you can't say that 3 times really fast.
Yeah, and then obviously the hex mark in matches like Eldar where it can come down, kill most of a unit, then they move it through.
God, love that shit in Eldar.
Hex mark is so good. Yeah,
even just even the Overwatch, but the shoot back and sisters are going to get more popular now that Jack's running them again. As soon as Jack goes to a tournament with him.
It makes them burn 2 tokens a turn as well, potentially, so they don't get
Yeah.
as much shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then if
It's
you're
good.
using Hexmark to make Seraz alone up, you're within 3. Then when people inevitably shoot him, you get to shoot back, and then it's another character you can get up, so you can throw it away for scoring, but then get it back up again. And so I think that's useful. Also, it's something that I can put in the Ghost Arc instead of Imatech, so I guarantee to get my CP. Because in this event, I had to pay a CP every game to not have my Ghost Arc blow up, basically, which felt a bit crappy. And then it does also
Because you
mean
didn't realise that Zeros could go in.
I didn't until I can't remember what
Oh.
game it was I was playing, and someone was like, "Who did you start in that Ghost Arc?" I was like, "No one. Why would I?" And they're like, "Because it blows up." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." So I had to and it was after I'd submitted the list. I was
This
like,
fucking guy moving Zeros through walls when not putting him in the Ghost Arc.
yeah, exactly right. So it's because I love the hex marks. Like in the hypercrypt list, I usually would have 3 of them because they do all of your scoring easily. So in this one, it means you've got something that you can have in the Ghost Art that can move 11 inches. So it means if you get like an area denial but cleanse, you don't have to advance to get on the objective. You can just move. So you can get that middle cleanse and get the one with the flayed ones on the expansion. And then you've got those little areas of jank. And you'd said to me that you didn't take Ophidians and stuff in this kind of list because typically, unless you get it turn 1 or 2, by turn 3ish, you're kind of near the deployment zone anyway with the Lords, which I didn't believe when you said it because I typically play more conservatively. But then having played a load of practice games, I'm like, no, you want to jam this stuff forward. That's where it's at its best.
Yeah.
So there's the thing
it's just annoying as fuck. That 4-up Fiona Pain guy, just keep pushing him forward. Like,
it's
what are they
brilliant.
going
I
to
mean,
do?
he
Kill him?
survived Be'lakor. He survived a Hive Tyrant.
Yeah.
He survived, most of a Blade Guard squad. Like, there are times where he shouldn't survive a thing, but just being T7 means Strength 12 isn't wounded on 2s, which is significant. There's a lot of Strength 6 is wounded on 5s, which goes from 4s on the Scorpiox to 5s. There's just so many times where you're ready for him to die. And you're like, well, if he dies, he dies. Like at the end of the day, he's like, what, 80,
If you
95
play against
points?
Biostatic Brood Surge, like just having the Scorpioth Lords on their own is so good because they're wounding him on 4s with the aberrants and stuff like that, and you just keep pushing them forward, and it's like I've got to deal with this. Like you just can't. You just keep pushing forward.
It's
Tagging,
about time he got
sweeping.
a good data sheet because it's had
Yeah,
ever since
like
he came out, he was an awful, and now
it's
he's
my
actually
favorite
playable.
unit in the whole list. Like just the Scorpioth Lords do so much work. They're so
They really
durable.
do. And there will be a lot of games as well where I look at something big like a Be'lakor and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to kill this turn, but a Doomsday Arc maybe does 4 damage. And Mythic Destroyers, if you got 4-up invuln and I'm wounded on 5s, maybe does 8 or 9 wounds. And then, I've charged you with a Scorpec unit and done 2 Impact Mortals, 5 or 6 dev, and 1 or 2 wounds went through with the Lord. So you've got like 3 or 4 left. And then you're going to kill me back, then I'm going to get up. Then you shoot his shooting, he's hitting on 2s, 4 shots, strength 6, AP1, sometimes into like demons with a 3-up save is significant. There's another wound. And then it's that Impact Mortals quite a few times where I'd roll 6s. Like in the same combat, I'd charge like 2 Lords in and get 2 6s and do like 6 mortal wounds and 12 mortal wounds. And when your army is killing by chip damage, just to have him up again, so you've got another charge at the Impact Mortals, another attempt at getting some 3 damage at AP3 through, with the strength, him being strength 10 as well with that strat, making him strength 11 and AP4. There are some units that he goes from, so like a Lord charging a Chaos Knight doesn't really kill it. But then you spend 1 CP and he effortlessly kills it on average. If you've done the Impact Mortals, he's got 3 wounds taken. It's just so good, really good.
Well, he does only get that AP if he's leading a squad, though.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He has been leading squads
Yeah.
for all of his, hasn't he? So
Yeah, exactly. But even just having the strength, like still getting the strength, so you're wounding the knights on 3s, and they're only getting 6-ups. I mean, obviously dice can spike, but you've just got to play the sort of averages, haven't you?
I mean, they don't even get a save with him because it's AP4.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's really good. I mean, I don't even find myself using the +1 strength and AP all that often. It's just when I'm getting a lot of value out of it. But I'm a big fan.
It's very very situational. But when it comes up, like in the Black Templars game, when he had a 10-man Crusader unit. And I charged it, and I'm like, okay, I'll make my Scorpec strength 8, which is a great break point, and AP 3. So if you use Armor of Contempt, you're only getting a 5-up, and if you don't, it's a 6-up. Like it just pushes the averages more in your favor. That
and the scouts don't get a save then either, part of that Crusader squad.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so even if you don't kill the full unit, you don't have to kill the unit. Like most stuff now wants to kill the thing it's charging or attacking. But as long as you kill enough that they don't kill you back completely, so they can't fall back, so then they have to stay there, or if they fall back and do nothing, and it's just that you kind of drag them down at Death of a Thousand Cuts. So that's the only thing I've changed in the list so far, and I need to get some more reps in. But I think that gives me a little bit more jank, which jank is like this list is all about jank, and just having more opportunities.
Would you consider swapping the Amnitics and the Lord for Chronomancer Immortals as tech against orcs? Because it's the kind of unit that steps out, shoots, and then steps back and then doesn't die. Whereas the Amnitics, they kind of hang around, come out, and then they tend to get shot to death.
So I actually played that yesterday, that game. It was on WTC terrain, and we did it as though the Mordaka list was the defender, so they choose the table. So it's Hammer and Anvil, and it shows a horrid table with just 3 or 4 massive fire lanes. It was just terrible, which is exactly what the matchup would be, right? They would choose and make it the worst. And I went first as well, which was just worse again. And I still think he had a bad turn where he shot. I can't remember if he shot the shock attack gun at my Mythics, and he killed 2 instead of all of them. Like he should have killed them all, and he just killed 2, and then they all came back. But I think if you're playing on UKTC terrain, I just don't think like their shooting is very, very dangerous. But it's like any army, like Votan can shoot you off the table. Loads of armies can shoot you off the table. As long as you can hide, you're forcing them to shoot things they don't necessarily want to shoot. You can play angles. I don't know that I would see enough value from that unit. How many points is it? It's like 200-ish.
It's the same. But it also gives you a home for Imhotech, so he can actually get into the fight as well, and he's quite good with his attacks. Doesn't have to hide at the back.
That's good. I mean, I did find a lot of value out of just over, from turn 2 onwards, just running Imhotech forwards towards the biggest group of stuff. And then sometimes I think I could do it turn 3, no. And then turn 4, like it's funny just how much stuff ends up being within 12 inches of him when you throw stuff out in front of him. And then you just go, boom, 12 mortals. I'd consider it, but I've not played the Dakar on UKTC. So I would have to play it with the list that I've got at the moment before I consider it, because I did find the Enmitics were really good in so many matchups, because there's a lot of matchups where, for instance, in the Josh game and the Righteous Crusaders Black Templars game, I know the maths is if they do AOC, I kill about 6 JPI kind of bodies. Yeah. If they don't AOC, the whole unit dies. And when they've got a unit that can delete me potentially, and I can go, whenever I see I can get it, I'll pick up, drop down, and kill you. It's so useful. And again, the way like I use the DDAs in this list, where usually DDAs will be quite aggressive and just need to kill that thing and you send 2 out. Whereas in this list, I was running them quite conservatively and they were quite slow and just sort of taking the shots where they could do so safely. With the Enmitics, I would find that I would kind of do the same thing, where I'd be using them. Can I see something little? Cool, I'll just kill it. Can I see something not get shot back and maybe do a bit of chip damage? Fine, I'll go for it. There were some games I never used Veil at all, and most of the games, I don't think I used it before turn 3, sometimes turn 4. I would wait for the opportunity for me to delete a very important unit or be able to put them into something where I couldn't get hit back. So the way that I play them, they were okay, even in dangerous matchups where they could get killed very easily. Like they never
the best way to play them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the guard game they got killed by Scions because I was Burke, but the other guard game they didn't die. The demons game they lived. They just were like killing like juggernaut units and doing chip damage to bloodthirsters. The Tyrannid game they didn't die. I just kept them going and going and going until it was time to jump out, and I tagged all the shooting units up. So because I use them that way, they were pretty good for that thing. So I wouldn't switch the mortals for that reason. But it is nice having a unit that can jump out like that and just rinse
on
everything.
UKTC especially. I like the heavy destroyers because they can sit like on a lot of the maps, search and destroy and sweeping. They can sit like where your home L is, and then like see down that firing line and shoot at 36 sometimes.
Yeah.
And there is like the ability to kind of hide back where you're not actually that in big of a threat, and you can use them a bit.
No. You could also put them in your like sort of expansion facing L as well, so they can go out the side and the bottom. Well, I was interested though, Andy, like how did you use them in all of your games? Did you in games where, because the AP is nice, having AP1 is useful in lots of matchups. They even custodes, they'll even do a fair amount. I think they killed 2 to 3 wardens, maybe without the for no pain. So there was value. What did you find them for in matchups where like you played Hinson with his Grey Knight, so it's an army of 2-up saves? Did you still find value in them there?
Oh god, it felt so bad when I was shooting them because they always had cover. So even if I had them near Serraz for AP1, they always got cover. Like there was never a chance that I could not give them the cover. So it was just unlucky that I played 3 armies with 2 up saves. But they still felt okay because I could come out shoot, and because I had Imhotech and a Chronomancer, and they do have some decent guns, especially Imhotech
Yeah,
with
that's true.
runes. And it also gave me another charge unit as well, a unit that I could put out and like move block, and it's hard to kill in one activation because the -1 to hit. So they survived really strongly, and I used them in the center of the battlefield basically the entire games, and then just like jumped out one side, shot, and then jump back in. But sometimes I jump out and then go to the other terrain so that they could like go, jump between the two and having.
So you like jump out, shoot, and then move further forwards.
Yeah, exactly. So they move. They can move 16 inches if you roll 6 on the advance, and I think that I probably, if I changed it, I would take the Gauss actually because the army's already good at killing lots of chaff. Like the warriors are still okay. You've got shooting and melee from the warriors, which actually kills chaff all right when you Sarahs. So the Gauss would be good because I found I was using the strat to be able to shoot with the Chronomancer and Imhotech anyway. So that the fact that the Teslas had immortals didn't come, the immortals had Teslas didn't come up too often. So having the Gauss and then fishing for using the strat to fish for lethals is another way of being useful in matchups where you're playing against a lot of tanks. So
how often did you use Veil, and what ways did you use that?
Oh god, half the time I forgot. To be brutally honest, I
Very
find that the Veil is good. I never really look to use it at the start because it, the way that the armies are positioned and the screens that they have, there's always usually a way that they can counter
I think
attack.
it's a late game tool,
It is.
definitely.
And I'm never desperate enough to bring them out early that I have to delete something like really important because that can just position the armies in different ways. That
Unless your opponent makes like a massive mistake of model placement, then you just don't need to use it early. Like I've played against Eldar before, where he's kind of like moved. Do you know on Search and Destroy where you've got the L to the side of your board? Like he's put models there, but and he's put them at the back of his board, so I can just stand right at the other end of the board and just shoot all the way down into his deployment zone. And you can against Eldar, each one of those heavy destroyers kills a 6-man.
Yeah, so that was super useful in some games where you could just go. I'm trying to think of a matchup now, but you just drop down and go. This unit kills that one. This unit kills that one. This unit kills
like
that
12
one.
shots, creating on 5s with full rerolls, and T3, so you win on 2s, rolling 1s.
I mean, you don't need the full rerolls. So that's the thing. If you got reroll 1s, that's often good enough.
Yeah, it's just it's slightly better, right?
You get if you got hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, and hitting with full rerolls, you just gain 3 extra shots. That's it.
I find that with the Veil, I didn't really use it much in the. It's one of those things that is very, very good to have, and it's useful to have it there. But you shouldn't use it just because you got it. You shouldn't be like looking for turn Veil or turn 2. Like there were games where I didn't use it.
It's the threat, and the threat gets better the longer the game goes because usually they've got something weak on their home objective, and especially with the Immortals being able to move 5 after they shoot, like there was a real threat. So they always had to keep screening the backfield, which meant not all of their units were getting in the game. And also it was like you put them on one flank, you clear out that flank, leave a hex mark behind. You can actually then just pick them up and put them on your other flank to get involved. It doesn't have to be like in the backfields; it can still be at the front. And I found that I didn't use the Veil a lot because they mostly did what I needed them to do in the center of the battlefield.
When I saw it in your list, I thought about it. And I thought actually that's pretty clever. I can see the application of it. Like it's just more movement tricks, isn't it? To be able to drop down, shoot, move again, advance to be able to move, and because they're battle line, you can advance and action them. It does open up options for you. I think I was very happy with the way the Enmitics did for me, even in the matchups where they weren't. They wouldn't be the thing you would take to kill the stuff. Like against the Bloodthirster, we did like 8 or 9 damage, which was how that ended up dying to the wound, and stuff like that.
Yeah, they are really good. I mean, I love the Omnitics. I just found that against Mordaka, they'd come out, they'd kill 1.5 units, but then they just die because, the flat 3 damage just shoots through them.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I figured, look, if I do really well at this tournament, I'm going to probably have to face Dakar armies at the end, like you saw at the South Coast Super Major, where there was top 3 were all Dakar. So if I want to do really well and potentially win, then I have to make sure I have some kind of tech to deal with it. And then being able to step out delete a unit, step back, potentially 2 units depending on how they're positioned and whether they're on objectives. I thought it just gave me a little bit of extra, and I did lose agency into other matchups definitely a little bit, but it's something that I could certainly overcome.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to try and rely on positioning and terrain and drawing them out on UKTC. Like I obviously haven't played them. Having looked at the boards, I don't inherently fear shooting armies because it's like, well, I'll just hide until there's a reason to come out, or I'll try and draw you out. Whereas I've only played them twice on the exact same map on WTC, and it was just horrid. You could barely deploy full units without them being able to see you. You couldn't move onto objectives without them being able to see you. You couldn't stage anywhere remotely threatening without being able to see you from a different angle, and it was obnoxious. Like in that game, the tank busters went one squad, Serras dead, and I'm like, uh, okay.
Yeah, it's just like the
I,
moving 12, trucks getting out 3 kind of angles, like being able to move up to walls, get out on the other side. They can shoot open topped. Like it is.
yeah.
That's why that is quite oppressive about them as
But
well. It's just
but
that
that
they're
stuff
so
does just die
clean.
though, because when I did drop down, I was like, okay,
Oh
I'm going
yeah,
to shoot 2 at this squad of boys, like 9 are dead. 1 at that squad of something else, most of that's dead. Like they were very useful for that. And I had another game that wasn't against Orcs, but they would drop down, shoot. What was it? It was against Eldar, and they dropped down and they were like 2 shot Eldrad's unit and the Storm Guardians with -1 to wound and the Warlocks and killed all of them. Another one shot something else, killed that. He shoots me back with a full squad of Reapers, rolls badly, and then kills 2. I resorb, bring like 4 wounds back, then get the next one back in my command phase, then run round to his home objective, charge up for the Lord and kill his autarch and take us home. Like there are enough wounds and toughness that there are times where they just get to live just when they shouldn't, and then in turn later they're all back.
Yeah, I've had it against Tyranids where he's moved out with his warrior squad, shot his Tyrannoflexes into them, and I've rolled a 6 to keep the last one alive. All of a sudden, then I'm like, Resorb, D6, cool, my turn, and they've got the whole squad, yet your warriors are dead. So they are a really good unit, and I like them a lot in Star Shatter where they got the Ignores cover, because that really propels them to the next level.
yeah.
But
sure.
+1 to wound, ignores cover, like crazy good.
yeah, because we're +1 to wound and Ignores cover on an objective, they actually kill like a 10 wound, or sorry, a toughness 10, 12 wound tank.
They do 12. They do
It's about 14 damage
12
on average.
wounds. 12 wounds to something that has a 2-up save base. So and it's wounding them of 5s. Or wounding on 4, sorry, with the +1. So yeah,
But
it's a lot.
of course, opponents don't stand on objectives when they don't need to. Then, so
Yeah, it's a bit rubbish. But I think that's probably going to
So
be about it. We've been chin wagging for a while, as I said we would. But it's been really good to chat with you, Danny. We'll definitely have you on again for sure, because we all like talking about
really enjoyed it.
Necrons.
if he does well again,
Yeah.
of course, if he does well again,
Yeah, well, we've got to start going to tournaments and actually fucking picking up the pace here.
You got a rep
So
for
yeah,
it. You're letting a Necron player rep for you at the moment.
yeah, Matt, you're going to be dropping to number 3 at this rate.
yeah. Well, I just feel sorry for you. That's all. I'm going to be jumping on EC. I'm an EC main now.
Looks like
yeah.
Danny, you'll be our new co-host then, I guess.
That's it. Yeah, I'll just be the manager. I'll be the guy sat on the not on the camera.
You
But
can be the face.
yeah. Okay, hey, well, thank you for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any comments, then please leave them in the comment section and give us a like and all that jazz. We do appreciate it. So, but we'll call it there.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers, Danny,
Thank
and
you.
congratulations
Cheers.
again.